Time for your weekly forecast to find out why things are so crazy and so bizarre this last weekend. What's coming up this week? Last week's prediction with our sensei, Chris Witecki, was spot on. And I don't know about you guys, but my weekend was exactly what he said it was going to be. It was absolutely revealing this entire weekend. I'm looking forward to see what's coming up this week. Let's look for all of the different. Oh, actually, while you're here, can you do me a favor? Put in the comments how you're feeling today, and did something wild happen to you on the weekend? Just yes or no. Looking forward to Chris Witecki coming. And last week he was saying that it's going to be through the full moon. It's going to be crazy, and it was. But the amount of information I received myself about myself was unbelievable. Times a day, what I need to do to stay on track. Chris, I'm trying to bring you up. Can you just say hi in the comments? There it is.
Hey,
Hey,
brother,
Chris.
how's it going? Put on my good
I'm doing
glasses here.
fantastic.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. What a powerful, like powerful week and weekend. I know we talked about our event that we're going to be doing together on in Austin on 18th, 19th, 20th.
Yep.
But not only that, I think I told you we got a big event offer to come in that we're taking in Prague, and also the one in LA. Right after we got off the phone, the two venues in LA came in the same day. So it's like locking in those days that we're supposed to be there.
That's perfect. Everything's falling into alignment, right? With Pluto at 0 degrees, huh?
Yeah, and then
Holding the
and then
space
from
for things.
and for myself, that was Friday. All these pieces were coming back into balance in our life. I feel like we've been giving and giving and giving and giving, and it's been like rolling a ball up a hill. And this is the first time where it doesn't feel like if I stop rolling, it's going to roll back over me. It keeps rolling, and and then coming on the weekend, I had some of the most prolific realizations. Like one of them was because I've been going through a lot of changes, like why I feel the way I do about people and situations. Actually, one of the things was Allah, Dr. Allah, who you've read
Oh,
before,
yeah.
Grandmaster Gemini.
Gemini, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she says you don't feel connected to anybody so that you can feel connected to everybody. That's what she said about me, and I'm like, that's the words I was looking for, because even in my most personal relationships, I don't feel that. Like with my sister who raised me, my mom, I don't feel like sister mom. I feel like I almost felt guilty by not feeling that way. But I feel connected to a single person I meet on the street. It's a bizarre feeling. So that was a realization, putting words to a feeling on Saturday, and then on Sunday, man, it was just one thing after another. It was in that Pisces day. All these events happened. Like I happened to just randomly get on a call with a guy from Europe, from Russia, just randomly. It wasn't supposed to be on a call, but we've missed so many of the things out there. I'm gonna call this guy. Called him on Instagram. Next thing you know, and I said, "You're Pisces, right?" I said, "Your birthday on the 21st?" Yeah. And then, of course, he's the 29-degree Pisces.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So why was your weekend like this? Like, did you experience something like that this weekend?
Mine was more subtle. So the answer is yes, everyone did. Like, I actually spent my Saturday counseling, helping a lot of people, helping them come into their realizations and come into their center. Saturday was step 7, Aquarius, and Sunday was step 8. And ultimately what was happening was is that we were coming to a conclusion that we no longer wanted to be a certain frequency on the inside anymore, that we wanted a vibe, that we basically grown out of a certain vibe of who we are and how we vibe with ourselves. And Aquarius is interesting. It's sort of like, we talk about vibes, but we don't really focus on them as anything real, but they are very real. It's an overall energetic signature of who you are. And so what we are is we are graduating our old energetic signature. For me, it was more like, oh, so like for me, it was like I'd had enough. Like I had enough with, just feeling a certain way. I was sort of over some things in my life. I'm just like, I'm tired of this. I felt this call for wanting life to be more exciting now. I was tired of just the grind. Of course, this is my career time of year. So, and I'm thinking to myself, I want my career to go a lot easier, to be a lot more fun. So it was this conclusion of I'm over this vibe. And then Sunday's like, well, what vibe do I want? That was what was happening on the deep spiritual level. But it's a profound shift. I mean, this is friendship is also the first chapter of
Wow.
Aquarius. So how we friend with other people. The first chapter of Leo is self-love. The first chapter of Aquarius is self-friendship. So you're basically assessing where you have failed to be a friend to yourself and where you need to be a better friend to yourself. And of course, actual friends are reflections of that whole dynamic. So they come in early.
Wow, interesting. So you could almost say that and I only gave a highlight. I had a whole bunch of people come into my life on on Friday and Saturday that were they just felt like I'd known them. So like that would be like friends from another dimension, friends from another timeline.
Or friends from the future timeline you're heading on. I mean, we had a lot of other things happen on Saturday. Uranus station direct. So that was probably
Hmm.
the biggest kick in the pants that we felt. Now, as a Taurus, I kind of felt like my rocket ship taking off. So I felt like that. When Mercury conjoined Mars on Saturday, so our mind and ego got on the same page about what we want to do. So it was a pretty dynamic. And then Mercury squared the North Node, which meant that we squared off with karmic relationships in our life. So Saturday was really a big day. There was a lot of narrative kind of all came to a close or opened up all in one day.
So what is it? So now we're coming into this action day, and I can already feel it. I mean, there are things happening all over the place. People are like this turning switches on everywhere. Oh,
Hmm.
and of course, I don't like I said, it's the magnet thing. Because this morning a girl calls me and said I'm 30-week pregnant. She's on live. I go, okay, let's talk to you. Boom, 29-degree Sag.
Oh, that's
She
funny. You're just plucking them out now to see.
Yeah, just pulling them off. So, what does this week look like specifically? Because I feel like it's coming into action, and today is that action day.
So now that you have this new vibe of how you feel about yourself, it's now time to act. So today's a day really of activating the new vibe and deactivating the old vibe. So so ending behaviors that create a certain vibration in yourself and starting behaviors that will inspire your new vibe of how you feel with yourself. And really, we kind of bring this vibe into fruition between now and Wednesday. So Wednesday, step 11, that's when your new vibration comes into integrity. And by the way, I do think that this is a totally new vibration for everybody. Even if you're not doing your work, you will feel your life left behind because the vibe is moving up whether you choose to move up or not. So you'll sort of feel stretched if you're not. The whole earth is moving up because we have Pluto at 0 degrees and then we have the sun, and Pluto's holding the door open between dimensions for the whole month. And the sun now stretches to a higher dimension. And so at step 9, it's now time to activate this new frequency vibration. That's really most of our spiritual work through the middle of the week, is getting used to getting comfortable. And I'd say the theme is getting comfortable with weightlessness because I think most of the new vibe is basically pulling an Aquarius ghost. I was talking about this in my show. It's not. It's basically just going to ghost. I mean, that's what Aquariuses do. They just ghost you.
Yeah.
So they don't even tell you you're wrong. They just stop calling. They just completely ghost. And so it's really what it's time is to ghost our old vibe, to ghost the old situations. And then we start to feel, there's a moment of weightlessness where you're not quite sure what to do now that the pressure's not on you anymore. You're not quite sure who you are now that you don't have these worries. So there's this kind of like getting used to. And then Thursday is step 12 and Friday is step 13. And so there comes this realization, probably on Wednesday, where once you're weightless, you suddenly realize that the frequency of your daily life has been held down by your own density. It's been held down by your sad vibes, your, all the lower vibration frequencies, which is like jealousy, anger, sorrow, depression. These are all the lower frequencies. So once you start to get rid of the lower frequencies, then suddenly your life starts to look different. So we end the week on step 13 where we realize, oh my God, I've been looking at my life all wrong. And that's how we go into next weekend. We go into next weekend realizing we have, been seeing it through the filter of our old frequency, of our old vibration, which may mean that something might look good that didn't look good. It might mean that something that you said you never do suddenly seems like you might want to. In fact, whenever you have a never in your life, that's almost a guaranteed it will, by the way.
Yeah, I get that all the time. I'll never do this again. I always laugh when somebody says that. Yeah, that's the last time. Never doing this again. I'm like,
Right.
I'm always
You're almost
laughing
saying
when.
you're doing it
Yeah.
again. Yeah. 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 So this is a real eye-opening week. The moon's in Virgo right now, so everything's sort of hyper aware.
Oh, the
So things feel
moon's in Virgo. That's interesting when you say that because what I can notice from my side with the moon in Virgo, massive amount of health challenges by everybody. Like we're talking off the chart. I'm getting calls from every continent from people just reaching out, people who know me who haven't ever reached out before.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch on my team that are sick right now, and my team's children are sick. So a lot of people, that's the thing. We decided to up the frequency. So anyone who's getting sick or having health challenges right now, put off their ascension to the very last minute, just so you know. You put it off to the very last minute. Uh, so just so you know, you were fighting. That's good for you to understand that you hold on to the past a lot. Personally, I got this illness release the beginning of January, a month ago.
Yeah.
So I think everyone's had some sort of vibrational cleanse. At minimum, diarrhea. Okay, like at maximum, like full on flu or cold, just to purge your body of those old frequencies.
So here's what I noticed that people are doing. They get what they, I don't care what you want to call it, flu, whatever it is, cold, those are healing you. Like when you get
Yeah.
what you call a flu, that's actually healing you. That means that your life was sick beforehand. So they
Yes.
get a flu or a cold or whatever, they run right away to urgent care, emergency, hospital, and then they pump them full of drugs. What
Right.
I'm noticing is every time I've watched people do this over the last 3 years, then the next time it comes, it gets stronger. Next time it comes, it gets stronger because they're trying to, at the core of it, this is our spirit. Our body is a representation of our spirit. And if we don't trust our body, if we run a medicine, we run externally to resolve our issues without even thinking about what is the internal, then we are going to get it the next time it comes around. And I'm noticing that. That gets very obvious.
Interesting. So people end up kind of denying it and not like seeing it for what it is, and so it comes back stronger the next time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going through a detox, if you have a big emotional shift, I'll give you an example. I was talking to the event producer in Czech Republic. She's a Virgo. She wants to get pregnant. We had a moment. I helped her realize something that was going on in her life. I pull up astrology like I always do, and I said, "Here's what I see," and I went boom, boom, boom. She got really hot. Her head got really hot. She started crying. She had a release. Well, the next day, she is in full blown symptoms, flus, fevers, vomiting, that. But she's smart enough not to go, oh, I got COVID or I'm sick. She's smart enough to go, I'm detoxing from what our conversation was, because it was also very close together.
Yeah.
And and what I notice is that when people deny what's, like you said, what's happening in their body, and they say, well, it's something else. It's not the emotion. It's not me. It's not me upgrading. It's I'm sick. There's something wrong with me. If they do that, then it doubles down. It gets worse. It goes back in the body and it says, okay, you're not ready for it. I'll go back down. I'm going to come back stronger next time.
Mhm.
Let's just hope that you get it. And if you don't get it, next time it's going to kick your butt. And then they do it again. And I watch this progression over the years because I can see people. I see, I know their astrology. I know them really well. And they're like, well, I got COVID again. And I'm like, no, you didn't. Your body's trying to give you a message. And that's why I said with the moon in Virgo, you're going to feel that because our body is our emotions. Our emotions affect every aspect of our body.
Yes, Virgo is the embodiment of our frequency and the density of our frequency. So, I don't think it's any accident in the timing that right when we decide to kick the old frequency, the moon goes into Virgo, so that it is realized in the body, that is realized in our life, and you come to these realizations when the moon's in Virgo. You also come into real life realizations like so, this weekend I was carrying it out to like, okay, I'm going to stop eating this now. I'm going to start doing this exercise now. I had a lot of fitness commitments that I made just because I'm tired of the vibe of my body. I'm ready for it to
Sure.
shift. I'm about to do the 28th day reset, so the timing is perfect. The moon goes into Libra later tonight, I think, and is in Libra tomorrow, Wednesday, and half of Thursday. So the next 3 days will be very, very floating. So it's going to be a complete opposite than what you feel now. You're going to feel like you are weightless. You're going to feel like you're between timelines, you're between dimensions. So it's going to be very interdimensional the next 3 days where you're sort of getting your
So
bearing.
our body goes into our body because the moon, basically, our emotions and our body's reaction goes into Libra for 3 days, and then we come out and we have Libra actually physically hit us in our sun on Saturday, right? Step 6,
Sunday
Sunday.
actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Saturday
So
Mercury, so Venus will hit Sunday. So Sunday's when you accept the new life. But go ahead.
well, that's our body. That's emotionally we're coming through. And then we say it's a human perception cycle. It takes us 3 days to recognize what's really happening.
Right.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days, and then boom, we accept it. So I'm just correlating what's physically happening with the astrology and our moon, and then what happens with the realization on the weekend.
Right. I would say when the moon hits Scorpio, which will be late Thursday, that's 3 days from now. And that's when you realize you have changed because Scorpio is when you draw the emotional
Hmm.
line. So we sort of go through this energetic vortex of frequency. So today's about launching the new frequency. And I would say it doesn't land until Thursday, where you feel different on the inside. And then the first thing you go is like, okay, now that I'm different, my life is bugging me or it's triggering me or it's not in sync with my new frequency or so we then realize it's time to change our outer life. And I
So,
think what happens Sunday is you realize I need to change my outer life.
so and usually you'll have something come to you or something that you do, but usually a lot of receiving of something that lets you know that that's the right thing to do, or something smacks you in the head, or something opens up on Sunday.
Yes, and you could say emotionally in the next 3 days with the moon in Libra, that's also receiving. So receiving is receiving divine messages, receiving the idea, comprehending the idea, like it all comes. I finally get it. So quite often when we get it, we understand it. Like that's a receiving thing. Because sometimes you're refusing to get it, you're refusing to take in the whole idea or
Yeah.
whatever. So we emotionally sort of negotiate. We emotionally negotiate the receiving of it for the next 3 days, and then Sunday, our heart fully accepts not in Kansas anymore. Life is
So
different, but that still won't be where we stop because we'll want to actually from that point next week we're going to then commit to how we want the outer world to change.
yeah, on Tuesday we're going to make a decision, right?
Yes, you'll make a commitment 16th on Tuesday, correct, on Tuesday. You'll
So,
commit to changing your life.
it's a very,
Yeah.
very common theme talking to people is, and this is what I was going through, but just at a different level. Like, I I don't feel connected to my life. I don't feel connected to the old people. I don't feel connected to my old job. That's a theme that's coming up, which drives a lot of fear in people, or grief, and those are metastasizing in the body.
Mm.
Why is it that people right now are not feeling connected to their old lives and their people and stuff like that?
I believe because we're in a new era, you're being shut off. So Pluto at zero is cutting that cord, and so if you insist on holding on to that, you'll be a kitty cat meowing outside the closed door. Like you're not going to get in most likely, and if you do, it's not going to work. So I think people are slow to grow. and they don't realize that life has moved on without them. This is one of those times, it's very rare that this happens, where life moves on without you. But there's so much changing right now in the earth. The earth is moving on, whereas a lot of times the earth is gently transforming. But now we're doing a snap. There's sort of a snap that's happening, and that snap's happening really between now and Aries. From the bigger perspective. So if you refuse to figure out where you belong, you will stay in the space of, I don't know where I belong, lost.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, lost. It's a feeling of loss. Like, and that when I started off today talking about it, it felt like my sister, who's my mother, it felt like I'm not connected to her. It felt like I wasn't connected to Cynthia, or I wasn't connected to Jason. It really felt like I wasn't connected to anybody. But in a very deep way, and this has been going incrementally, this has been going on for a year for me. And it's like just coming to a head right now. That's why I appreciated Ala's blurting it out in such a way that, since you're not connected to any one person, you can be connected to everyone, which is really the theme of Aquarius at the end of it.
It is. And I believe it's a temporary disconnect. So, first of all, you might reconnect on new terms. So, the old cords are cut because the old spiritual contract is over now. So most spiritual contracts are to be reflections of ourself in one way or another.
Right.
And quite often, people who you despise, or people that upset you, are usually playing the role of you in a prior life. So they're acting like you used to
Yeah.
act. That's why it's pissing you off.
Yeah.
So most of the time we're pissed off is because they're playing the role of who we used to be. And they're playing that role as a reminder of how far we've come, and a reminder not to go down that path. So once you engineer your energy and say, okay, I'm not going to be this, I'm not going to be that, I'm going to be this and be this to myself, then suddenly it's like they take a vow, my job is done here, the contract is complete, now they can move on to their next soul contract. Sometimes there's a re-up, like where you're going to sign up now for a different goal. Like now in this next chapter, I'm going to play the pain in your ass that's always worried about money or whatever. So like they may play a new role, or people may go on. I've had a lot of people come to me, even in my organization. They're like, I don't know if I want to, if I'm meant to stay here. And I'm like, you may not be. This would be the moment where you make that choice. And I'm cool if you are, and I'm cool if you don't. Like it's whatever is meant to be. Because once we hit Aries, we are on a whole new venture.
Yeah. So yeah, and I can feel that ramp coming up to Aries for sure. And I can also see all of the things set in place, because we set a goal to, like last year, we set a goal or an intention to get out there and see the audience, see our people, because we built this whole worldwide mission with millions of people around the world, where we hadn't really seen anybody, even the people that are closest to us. And you can see all the pieces coming together. You can actually look at the people coming in, they're trying things out, people leaving. You could see it starting to organize itself. Now, with that being said, we are told, and you told us, to start our mission, take that first step, do something forward. And you said it comes to a head on May 18th, 19th, 20th, in that time frame. So what is it that we should do to start that, whatever new it is? And why is it coming to a head at that time?
Well, it actually, so, there's a series of events that happen. So what's first happening is you're coming into the new vibe right now, and then the North Node will conjoin Chiron here later in the month, and that's going to be a moment where we're healed from areas where we've been paralyzed to act. So we've all been a little paralyzed to act due to past life karma. So the next stage is removing those restraints we put on ourselves from acting. Then the eclipse on April 8th is, okay, you were healed, go act. So then we're ready to act. And then Jupiter and the Sun in Taurus. Taurus is I manifest. And so a lot of powerful Jupiter conjoins Uranus. The Sun conjoins Jupiter. We have all these different things that then multiply what it is that you are creating. So in essence, everyone is meant to create from this new frequency, to create something new. And this becomes part of the chessboard going forward. You don't have to create something new, but you're going to regardless. So if you sit around and you argue with your boyfriend, in the month of May, you're going to create a new problem the two of you are going to share for a long time. Like, so you got to be careful what you create, is what it is, going forward. Now, I personally believe that the people who have solutions for Earth are creating those solutions in
Yeah.
May. I believe they're creating and launching those solutions. So I actually believe this is the wave, this is the solution that God's been waiting for. And I think we're going to see a lot of, now it may not come to the surface or be seen for a little while,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Globally, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's first statement. It's like because when we give these dates, what people don't realize is that's when the energy shifts. That's when it happens. But even in 2020, it was January 15th was the first case of COVID that was seen, but it never really showed up. We didn't really know about it until that first lockdown. It wasn't evident, and so there's a space and time because and depending on how big it is and how much it impacts from the time it actually happens to the time it lays down. And it seems like it seems like that full impact starts to happen and then about 9 months later. And I mean, full impact. And then, of course, by 11 months, everybody is now bringing it in, and that follows your step system, which is so brilliantly designed.
Mhm.
I am, I feel it, and 10, I'm like sorting through it, and 11, I am it, I become it. And that's why it seems to take that long, even though some people realize it right away. Some people realize it in a month. Some people realize it in 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And we all wake up to that change at some point.
We all do. It takes a while to I mean, if you're a manifestor, you're a businessman. It's what looks like an overnight success takes a long time to get going. I do think 9 months is a good arc. I think that Jupiter and Gemini is when people start sharing ideas and finding out about this or finding out that things, so you sort of put the word out with Jupiter and Gemini, and then Jupiter and Cancer, there's an emotional reaction to that change, and then Jupiter and Leo, the heart is then inspired. So, from Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, you have this basically the launch. And you could say, I mean, from a yearly perspective, because is the collective belief structure, it's not till Jupiter hits Virgo where it becomes widely realized, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even before that, and Jupiter is what we believe. So Jupiter right now is like, I believe I should create something, Jupiter and Taurus. Jupiter goes in Leo at the end of May. I believe I should tell everybody about it. Jupiter in Cancer. Everyone thinks it sucks. Oh, I should feel this way or feel that way. Like, what am I going to do about that? Am I going to let that get to me? So there's like this stirring. Then Jupiter and Leo's like, nope, this is what I'm doing. I believe I need to love this and push it. And then Jupiter and Virgo's like, okay, the world is different now. So it's a long, I mean, as far as launching and stuff, it takes, you talk about those steps, there's all kinds of series of steps. There's 10 months, but then there's also a decade, 10 years, net
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
So a decade and 1 year is I become. So it really takes a full decade to make a major change of the world, a full decade. But you could say that we are starting that decade right now,
Well,
Jupiter and Taurus.
what was really cool is we are at our Jupiter story return, the two of us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's
are.
12
12
years ago. It's
years.
the story, yeah. And that, I mean, what's and explain that to people because that's really important. Like 12 years ago, I sat outside of a Starbucks with you in Orange County, and you told me about the app and about sending messages to people and educating people because you've been an astrologer and you didn't want to just read people's astrology. You want to help them become proficient in it. And then
Yes.
I told you about the human garage and the vision for that. That
Yep.
was one story ago. So what does that mean that there were 12 years and why is that significant?
Well, you have a belief that's forged with Jupiter. And what's funny is Jupiter was probably in Taurus at that time. So we were both talking about, hey, this is what I'm going to manifest.
That's
So
exactly what
so
I
we
said.
we planted that seed and
This
so
time
yeah, let's
of
manifest this.
year
Let's
too,
do
by
it.
the way.
Yeah, it was, which is fascinating. But like so Jupiter is a trip around the block. Jupiter is interesting because first of all, Jupiter rules the number 12, which is a net 3. It adds to a 3. So that's kind of interesting. And Jupiter's orbit around the sun is 12 years. So Jupiter is the only sign that this only planet that's in the sign for 1 year exactly. So 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. And so it represents a 12-year cycle. And in the step system, you really go from 0 to 11, okay, to make those 12s, right? So really in the step system, it's 0 to 11 steps. There is no step 12. Step 0, it would be the first year, and so on. So what it represents is the whole cycle of creation and incarnation. Jupiter is your belief. And what this suggests is that belief actually powers most of manifestation incarnation. It's mostly belief, that you have this heartfelt belief and this heartfelt intention. And so what Jupiter does is it goes, okay, you believe this? Well, now let's process it, Gemini. I mean, the fact that you and I are both builders, so I think we sort of came together right when we were about to build something. And now it's time to take what we built to the next level.
And I mean, and we're, this year in May, we're doing a get together with our communities in Austin, same
Yeah.
time. And it's funny because you already picked that time, and we're like, yeah, that's the time we want to do it. So we're actually going to the same place at the same time. I didn't even know that's because of this was the sun crossing, or something's crossing there
Well,
at that time.
there's what inspired me was the eclipse on April 8th actually creates an X through the country. So when you look at the last year's eclipse, the last eclipse we had, and the eclipse we're about to have, it creates this X right on San Antonio, Texas. It creates a big X, an X across the United States, which is really funny actually, because you have right now Gen X is coming into power. So Generation X is coming into power this year, inheriting it from basically the baby boomers. We have Twitter, formerly, which is now X. We have the X virus they're threatening to release. We have, like, it seems like X marks the spot. So I was going to do it on the eclipse, but then there was other competing things, and I felt into it. I'm like, oh, screw that. I don't want to be in front of people on an eclipse. Like, that energy feels so nasty, to go through. It's sort of like energetic childbirth. So then we started looking for the next possible magical date, and we realized, oh, let's stay in the path of the eclipse, because I think the eclipse goes right through Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
goes right into Tennessee. Anywhere the eclipse hits, there's something important about you. Anywhere
Hmm.
the eclipse, there's something important across those areas. Now, I actually think with the trucker convoy happening right now on the south border, that X marks the spot. And Texas
Yeah.
is right in the center of Texas, and Texas is becoming a big pain in the ass
Yeah.
to the rest of the country, which is what they're so good at. That's why I own a house there. They are great pains in the ass, and don't mess with Texas. People are going to support Texas. So interestingly enough, and I don't know if you know this, I think we might talk about this, but Texas is the only state in the union that has the right to secede.
Yes. Yeah. I do know.
They have the
And
right to
and
secede.
and and furthermore, what's interesting is, seeing what's happening there. And I'm from the outside. I'm inside or outside. My family's from Texas. I'm a Canadian.
That's right. Your
Um,
family is from Texas. That's
yeah.
right. My ex is from Texas. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why I'm going there. She all my exes. Um, so
Right.
the
Probably.
so that the funny thing is that we've got the National Guard, and we've got, I think, 20 other states that are sending troops there. And basically what we have is we have Republicans and Democrats sending troops to a similar place to, I mean, when you talk about reliving the feeling and the energy of a civil war, and I don't think it's going to be anything like it was before. That's not even what I'm saying here. But it's like the same energy as the Civil War playing over again, the same kind of thing, because that's what it was. It was Republicans and Democrats over slavery. And
Yep.
technically,
Yep.
we're going there over slavery, usury.
Yeah. Well, ironically, I mean, let's be honest. These immigrants will end up being low-wage
They
slaves
are.
to our corporations. They'll be forced into meat processing plants and all these horrible jobs that Americans don't take. So it is sort of the new capitalistic
It
slavery.
is.
Absolutely. Karma is always reversed the second time. So Texas was on the wrong side of the battle in the Civil War, so therefore the South will be the winner this time and the North will be the loser, because it flips whenever you have
And you
karma.
can see it. It's
Yeah,
like you got
it's
New
fascinating.
York and California, the North, technically. You
Yep.
got the stealth. I mean, it is like literally watching a playbook. Like the story is recreating itself.
It totally is. And we're at the tension of, and I've said this before, but I'll just keep hitting it home. Like Neptune is about to go where it was in the Civil War. Uranus is about to go where it was in the Civil War, and also where it was in the Revolutionary War. So we are, and we're now where Uranus is actually now where it was in the World War II. So we're at this point of we're coming to a millennium kind of realization where we're coming full circle on the conflicts we have held with the world for the last 300 years, the last Pluto orbit, and all these narratives are converging now at the same time, looking for a resolution or to rise above what we have learned or haven't learned.
So Jason was saying something last night when we were driving because we were checking out this place we were at. Like we are hardcore looking for that property we've been talking about, and so he was saying that that the Constitution, he was repeating you and talking about how when the forefathers wrote the Constitution, they wrote it, but everybody had to go and play it out. They had to play out every version of it to now have those words come back and see were those words and was that those statements, did they withhold? Are they there? Are they strong? And it's like this is really when the Constitution gets played out, not when they wrote it.
This was the moment they were worried about, like as far as the forefathers, and kudos to them. How
Yeah.
brilliant. I mean, I was looking at a special. Uranus was in Gemini for the American. So United States is Uranus is 8 degrees Gemini. Okay, so Uranus was in Gemini. So the whole Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death, that was a Gemini. Patrick Henry was a Gemini, and he said that when Uranus conjunct his sun, give me liberty, give me death. We hold these truths to be self-evident, written by an Aquarius with Uranus and Gemini. So Gemini's like, we need to elevate our thinking. We need to elevate the way we think about things, but also Uranus is genius. So during that time, all thought was brought to a genius level with Uranus and Gemini. Those forefathers saw through space-time with Uranus and Gemini. They saw where all these waves could converge. They saw that we had to have the right to bear arms. We had to have the right to if the government goes sour like it has in every instance they'd ever known, Napoleon, you name it, it always went sour. That there were these built-in rights to be able to steer the ship back to the original intention. So what's interesting is when Uranus hits Gemini, and I'm not exactly sure, I should have that date prepared in my head. It's coming up. You're going to find the intellect on the planet goes to a high level. I also think that's probably when American artificial intelligence will reach that whatever that term is, AGI.
Yeah, yeah. I believe that to be true, and I also believe it's like the versions of it is like you said, we split. Like there is a group of people that is going to go fully in, become dependent upon technology. There's a group of people that are saying, "Hey, the body heals, life heals, Earth is," and they go off, and we separate. And I can see that too because people that I know that are city dwellers are no longer wanting to be in the city, and that's the first step that I see. Like people who have been lifelong, I love this. This is what I do. This is where I go. Say, I don't even want to be there anymore. And that was a real shocker to me when I saw that.
I'm seeing. I mean, that's if I had $1 for every person that told me they were starting an alternative community, I'd be a billionaire.
Yeah.
It's so popular now. This idea, everyone's walking around going, "Well, where?" It's kind of funny because it's sort of like the pilgrims again, where everyone wants to pilgrim. But actually, I think I talked to you. I can't remember who I was talking about, but Star Wars had it right.
He did.
It's going to end up being C3PO. It's going to end up being robots farming your land for you in the middle of nowhere. Technology is going to be what allows us to go to the country.
Yeah.
Is that we have clean, unlimited energy, that we have artificial intelligence and robots that can do the hard labor. So we don't have to raise a barn like the Amish. We can have the robots do it, So it's going to be interesting to see. I think by the time we're retiring, we'll be retiring in those communities.
Yeah. And I believe that too, because it's like when they right now I was having a conversation the other day saying, well, why do things cost so much? Well, at the end of it, it's not about the raw materials, and anything you do is only a portion. At the end of it, it's because a human has to get it and a human has to make it, and the human has a finite amount of time at this current state of awareness, and that finite amount of time is then measured in how much joy I need to get there. So there's a value to that time. And when a robot does that thing, an artificial intelligence does that thing, and our basic subsistence, our food, our shelter, our power, and stuff like that's taken care of, then we, as a society, we start to self-actualize. That's actually when it starts to happen. Because right now, we're too busy trying to take care of food and shelter that we can't even step outside ourselves. We can't self-actualize. This is where the George Lucas thing, you had it right. The free energy. Have you been watching the free energy devices? Have you seen
I
any of
haven't.
them?
You told me about them. I know they exist. I know they've been purchased by Rockefellers and thrown into rooms like where the Ark at the Covenant is hidden. Like
You can't do that
they're
now, though. Right now they have like thousands of different versions. Like this one guy's got a generator, and it's like, here's my generator. It works. It works forever on no energy. And here's the blueprints for it if you want to make it yourself. That's what's starting to happen. Here is a turbine. Here is this. Here is a way to spin Mercury to get energy out. And all of these things are coming out right now. There's like thousands of different ways. They're not held by single source. There's like just all over the place coming out, and people are generating free energy. Kids are doing it, literally.
I love that. I mean, that ultimately is the freedom right
Yeah.
there. So once that happens, I mean, especially now with the grid and everything else, that's the thing. It's like when you try to have control, people there eventually creates a black market. As soon as you try to have totalitarian control and you don't have free markets, you have black markets. And so it ends up getting sold around the system anyways, which I think is, inevitably what's going to happen.
Somebody said they're going to have a cure for cancer. You're going to find out that cancer is in your parasite, and it's all about emotions. That's going to be the biggest one for people, is to realize that these disease processes are the ones that we believe collectively, and we believe them because we've been told them. And as soon as that's why when people get the diagnosis is where the death starts. Diagnosis, die. To die, the word die. Agnosis is by telling a lie. So to die by telling a lie. Diagnosis.
Yeah, I see that. And I think we have had cures for cancer. We've stifled them,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, for sure. Cancer is, listen, we have parents that have children, I've told you this, in our parents group, whose children no longer have cancer diagnosis, and they've done it themselves. After three times, like one, it was just a 3-year-old going for a third brain surgery, and they're like, no, stop. And they did it themselves.
Wow. There you go. That's
Eh,
the future. And getting off of all the, substances, the chemicals, the chemtrails, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
So
It's exciting times.
So, so for people that have like, there's a lot of people that work for somebody else that are now trying to be entrepreneurs. They're trying to go out there. What do you think an entrepreneur should be looking at? I mean, because really, it's between now and May that they need to start something. Like when you say start it, what does it mean? Does it mean incorporate a company? Does it mean try something? What do you think it means?
I mean, it's flood the market with solutions. Um, so if you have a solution to an issue, if you have that's what most big good companies are. They're a solution to a problem we have as humankind. So, just go as far as you can to get your idea out there and started. I think, just so you know, Gary and I were here 12 years ago, and here's where we are. So it's like, it's not going to happen overnight, but the grounds are so fertile. I mean, for instance, just to give you an example, when I started my Namaste Today or my daily horoscopes, I started it the month YouTube started. So I was the first astrologer on YouTube. I was the first
Oh,
astrologer on YouTube. So, so I was a first comer. Now, no one freaking watched YouTube. I got no views. Like, no one found me. Like, but I squatted on that energy and I built up from that foundation. So, when you're first to market, now I stand very strongly as an expert, when the customers finally did come. So the point is that, you right now you want to claim it's kind of, I think it's claiming your stake in conscious real estate. So
Hmm.
you want to claim your stake in conscious real estate. You want to be the one who is known for this, or the one who's putting out these ideas. Of course, you want to protect your ideas also, because this is also going to be quick to steal, especially with AI and stuff. It's very easy to steal ideas. So don't try to stroke your ego by telling everyone your great ideas. Protect them, put them, make sure that they're protected in a certain way so that you can have them exclusively for a period. We both believe in giving away knowledge, but that was when I was ready to give it away, when I had my foundation in place, when I had everything, in order.
Well, I
So
have.
it's really, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm on the Elon Musk side. I'm in it for the greater good, and patents are. He says patents are for pussies. That's what he said, quoting. They slow down the process, but the best way I have found, I'll give you an idea. Okay, so we have lots of trademarks. We have a trademark of ideas. We have some things that are patentable. We're not patenting them, by the way. But even the trademark, okay, the way that the current system works, if you abuse my trademark, you know how much it costs me to defend that legally? It costs about $250,000, 250 to 400,000 per time I do it. If I'm this is my business side speaking to everybody who wants to do this right now. And if I'm going to execute against that person, that person's probably making 60 to 80 to 100 grand a year. And even if I win, I don't have any way to recoup my expenses in litigating and
Mm-hmm.
enforcing. So what we have as a simple philosophy is own the language, own the conversation. So get out there, create the conversation, create as many hooks to that conversation as you can. Be the one that talks about it. Be the one that's known for it.
Yes.
Because this is what we did. We're putting everything out for free, even about fashion and stuff like that. Everybody else in our industry is trying to own their programs, control it, all that, and we're open sourcing it. We're just literally going open source because everybody in the world remembers Tim Bray, the guy who created XML, which the internet runs off of today. And he gave it to the world for free. Well, that's currency because he can do whatever he wants and everybody's there. And there's a certain amount of respect if you get out there. So that's why, like you said, flood the ideas, get it out there, get the market out there. Because the current way of protecting, the current systems to protect, like trademarks, governments, lawsuits, all of that rule of law is going away and something new has to come in. So we don't even know what it's going to look like, but it's not going to look like the past.
I agree. And I agree also on the protection. The truth of the matter is a trademark only protects you really from a big corporation,
Yeah.
someone you can have that you can win money from. If they're not wealthy, then you're wasting your money trying to protect that
So,
trademark, right? Like,
and then
yeah,
why did we do it? I mean, because at the end of it, the big corporations, what they can't do is they can't do what you do and what I do. I know this because I've been a big corporation. I've been a small one. Even today, it takes us more time to navigate a change today than it did a year ago. Yet a year ago, we could pivot and change within a week. Today,
right.
it takes us 3 to 6 months to make a change because there's more people involved. There's more people to communicate for it. There's more people that know the story and the language. So it takes longer to do that. Big corporations can't even come close to competing. That's why they purchase. That's why they buy.
Well, they acquire
Yeah,
and assimilate. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So getting those ideas out there, and flooding the market with love and hopeful products. I think that's the best strategy to win over this light versus dark sort of approach that we're at here. Is the one thing that, if you want to call it dark, I do think there are dark energies. I think you can look at it as
Sure.
like
Yeah.
it's like a bacteria. Like, you leave an apple out on the ground, bacteria is going to eat that apple and disintegrate it. The same thing is true with humans. Like, you will be attacked by viruses that feed off your energy to the point where you don't want to live anymore. But the way, I think, to combat those decaying energies is to flood the world with nutrition.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
flood it with nutrition. Because the one thing that the darker energies, or people who live in those sort of control, is because they shut off from God, they shut off from creativity. So negative forces are almost zero creative. They have no creativity. And
Yeah.
so when you throw out something that's very creative and profoundly creative, it forces everyone to have to pivot and react. Just think of like what Uber did to disrupt the taxi industry, for instance. It was very creative. It was right under our nose. Taxi unions were corrupt as hell. You know what I mean? Like it was, in fact, they're still the ones trying to hold back automatic driving, or taxi unions and police unions, trying to hold back that progress. But the point is, if you create something profoundly brilliant, everything has to shape around you now. Everything has to pivot around you. They have to join you or they have to beat you. So it forces everything, I think, to progress.
Now, if you go back actually to speak about flooding the market with goodness, um, how many hours of YouTube videos would you actually have out there?
Do I? I
Yeah.
I have 18,000 plus videos on YouTube right now. 18,000 videos. Yeah, I don't know how
Now
many
that
hours it
is
is.
free, 18,000 plus free videos on YouTube. That
That's
is
right.
literally changing a market. I
It
mean, how
has.
many people can actually say that? Even the biggest providers in the world can't do
I
that.
don't think so. I think I've got, I mean, I don't know. I'm waiting for someone to recognize it or whatever. I think I'm up there in the top three. Like not even Mr. Beast can touch me. You know what I mean? As far as the number of videos I've done. But what's interesting is ChatGPT has ingested all of my videos. And so if you ask who is Christopher Witecki in ChatGPT, it gives you a pretty good answer.
Oh, perfect. Because you know what? We were trying to use last year, this time we were trying to, when ChatGPT came out, we were trying to use it to talk about the step system to use in our programs, and it wasn't ready yet. So, and the same thing with me. We were trying to get it to learn more because if we talk to it, its view of health is based on the world, and our view literally is different. Like we're the only ones currently at scale that are talking the way that we talk. So there is no reference points. When you ask it for recommendations, it goes back to the old recommendations. But that means that your step system will be out there now.
It is. It'll be out if it figures it out and adjusts it. Now, if I ask ChatGPT like, "Hey, look at my astrological chart and tell me what I should do this year," ChatGPT says, "I'm sorry, I don't have astrological knowledge. You should refer to a professional astrologer." So
Does it?
I'm happy about, yeah, yeah. It does not know how to, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
The other thing about ChatGPT people don't know is you can reply and correct ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So it's just like Christopher Witecki is an astrologer. No, a phenomenal astrologer. Send. ChatGPT's like, got it. So it's like, so that's what people need to know. You can train the AI to be what you want it to think of you as right now. It's in a very learnable moment right now where it can be trained. So it's time to train the AI to what you want it to say.
So let's take a look at spiritual equity. You put in 18,000
Mhm.
videos, and that's probably 25, 30,000 hours, maybe more than that, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because those, I talk long. Yeah. I've been
So
all
that's
along.
got to be, from a standpoint, that's got to be um, and this is what I feel is coming. That's what I was saying is I feel like the wind is at our
Yeah.
backs. It's like we've been putting out that good for so long with literally knowing that there's going to be a return, but without the expectation of return. And that's why I feel like things are taking off for you, things are taking off for us, and as we built that equity, and this is what I want people to hear. This didn't start like Human Garage, as you know, 2.0 didn't start in 2020. Human Garage 2.0 started when you and I were talking about it. It was just
Mhm.
a different version of it.
Yeah, and I had a beta version. My first start on YouTube is Soul Garden, another brand that I had. I went through a birth and rebirth, death and rebirth, like you did also with your brand too. But yeah, it started some time ago. I call that Soul Capital. So
Yeah,
it's almost like what ends up happening is it turns into like a force where you can like sort of borrow against your own force to spring forward, kind of. Like you can sort of bounce off your own history. It allows you to be, autonomous in that sense and not have to rely on, people putting their fingers in to try to control,
it's the
right? So
bank of you.
it's the bank of me. Yeah, totally. And it's in the collective consciousness. It's kind of cool too, just because, I look back and, if you wouldn't it be nice to be able to watch like Edgar Casey's videos, like right now if we could hear Edgar Cayce and what
Oh,
he had to say.
you
Wouldn't it
know,
be
I mean, the
cool
guy
to?
wrote, what was it, like 17,000 predictions?
Yeah, I mean, you know, his foundation has all of his recordings and everything that he did in a library. I wish they go public with that. But it's like to be able to go back and to me, the legacy of being able to go back and see exactly, you know, we'll see if it stays on. I mean, YouTube may at some point, you know, if we go communist, it might get all cut up. I don't know. You know, I mean, like we don't know how things will go, but it's cool to have it in the human record,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's downloading all of our content. I mean, what we're doing is keeping that relevant because um we're pulling everybody, starting to pull them back to our website because who knows? And we don't know. But we know that on our website we can hold all those videos. So we're extracting the content and repopulating it in new ways. And we're at the point where we've been building the tools so AI can do it for us. And that's
Yeah.
really where we're at.
Yeah, I do think that's where it's going. I do think that, and we have our own platform as well. You know, ultimately, that's where we live. That's where the ghost of Christopher will live at SeriousJoy.com. That's where you'll get the
Coming back
avatar.
from the grave.
Yeah, I mean that is my heart's intention is to leave behind the my ability to read somebody.
Somebody was talking about the diagnosis comment I put there
To
earlier.
decipher between two, so they're arguing and saying it's to decipher between two knowledges.
Well, yes, but you have to take it like when we if you got to take words and look at they were like religion is to religion. The sound of the word is it. There's a word, there's a meaning, but there's the phonetic of the word which creates the vibrational response. So it doesn't matter what I equate a meaning to. Die also die too is to have two. I have a life there. I had a life there. Die means something. Die also means die, die, like gone.
Right. The frequency means the same thing. If it sounds the same, it doesn't matter the spelling because the spell is putting a spell on the
That's
vibration.
right.
So they spell it differently so that they can twist the vibration to fit, you know, square peg round hole kind of thing.
Yeah,
I think what Gary's point was with diagnosis was that in the two to decipher between two knowledges, Gary is saying, yeah, they're having you choose the lie
yes,
knowledge. That's what Gary is saying. That it's saying
yes.
that when they diagnose, they have you choose the lie knowledge versus the actual knowledge, and that's where knowledge dies.
Because
Right.
the
Basically.
diagnosis is a recognition of symptoms, and symptoms do not ever comport to cause, ever, in any way, shape, or form. And the problem with the diagnosis, and this is why we stopped practicing in the clinic with it, is that once I give a diagnosis, I agree to the context of what the world believes that diagnosis to be and the possible outcomes. And also, diagnosis stops people from looking further. It stops them from experiencing
Right.
because that's only part of an experience. Like when I have people that have been like in pain for like, I have this all the time in the clinic, not so much anymore, but I have one recently very close to me. You know, like years of pain and not nobody knowing. Then they got the diagnosis. You have stage 4 this. You've got 3 months to live. The first energies that they get is relief. That I mean, that is weird. The relief is, they've been looking for 10 years and now it's like, you're gonna die. Oh, I'm relieved. And then that's what the problem is because the job of the brain is to explain the feeling. If it can't explain the feeling, it keeps trying to do it. And that's where the problem is because we stop looking for answers when we give it an answer. And when we give it a diagnosis, we are labeling it, and labels create is a judgment, and judgments in all cases in this plane of existence that we live in create a reaction.
Yeah, and judgment is not meant to be permanent in the now. That's the thing. So, that is, so radiation is presenting cancer.
Yes,
Like you're presenting
that,
to
that's all,
now.
that's exactly
So,
what it is.
so
It's like you have, and but the truth is that we are the way it's presented right now. The people they own it. My diabetes, my cancer, my this. They're owning it and becoming it because of the architecture of the current way of describing. And I'm very strong on this because I forced my friend. Remember Jennifer Liu, the Gemini that worked with me, the Asian girl?
Yep. Yep.
I pushed her into a diagnosis when I felt something in her stomach. She ended up dying of a stage 3 non-Hodgkin lymphoma, which grew right after. Been there for decades, and
Yeah.
I firmly believe that I'm a part of her death, and but it also taught me something, and she's helped me so many times since she's passed. But this is why at Human Garage in the clinic we do not allow diagnosis. We allow an acknowledgement of a symptom, and that's it. I see that you have a symptom here. Okay, here's some of the things that that symptom can be attached to, and here's what we are going to do, and let's go down to there.
Yes, I agree with that. And I do believe sincerely that bacteria and the extinctionists are looking to kill things off. And so there is they put you into a conclusion that you are that you are, you have this disease, as if you cannot, one day you cannot not have it, right? Like, right. So I think that to some degree it's a spell, putting people in a spell to conclude on
It
their
is
own. Yeah.
disease. Dis-ease. The body's not at ease. If I'm at fear, my body is my body at ease? No. If I walk around and live and eat and all that in fear, guess what happens? Over time, the fear causes all the other parts of the body, including the digestion, to malfunction until now I have a series of symptoms from that dis-ease. It's always an emotion.
I believe the same is true with addiction, for the record. I don't believe in
I
addiction.
don't believe it at all.
I believe that people present addictively, so that, they're currently feeling addicted, but I think addiction actually takes conviction.
Yeah,
You have to really focus. You got to work hard to be an addict,
you do.
really. And which means you're constantly reaffirming that you are an addict and giving up your power that you are an addict. And that's not to say I don't have compassion for those who are stuck on a substance. It's very hard. And I know that the body does become, on some medications, become overly attached. And so, but I don't believe that that's a permanence. I believe that's a condition. That's what's the word? Like, it's a current status. It's not a condemnment.
Your body seeks to resolve an issue, and that issue creates an emotion which we seek to resolve. If we can't resolve it, we sedate it or put it away. The body memorizes the best way to do it, but when the body gets a new way to do it, it automatically trumps and drops the other one. That's why if you smoke weed and you go to heroin, you're not going back to weed. That's why when we reset our nervous system, our 44-day fast, it reset everything. I'm no longer addicted. We're all addicted to food. I'm no longer addicted to food. If you're telling me we're not eating for the next 6 months, I'll be happy because finally everybody's where I'm at. And that's really, really powerful, man. It's this whole world of addiction. And I started off my medical career working in addiction. So I know this from being an addict, helped work as an addict, help people get off it, and now I just see a better way. There's just a better way to look at this. And part of it is the first way to beat addiction is to change the perception. Well, the best way, and this is why Hippocrates said, a doctor who doesn't study and use astrology is not a doctor but a fool. Because if I have astrology, I'm no longer a victim of other people's ideas or beliefs. I don't need to be saved by a belief system if I have astrology. Astrology gives me a way to perceive the world and what my situation is other than the other ways, the other systems.
Yes, gives you another perspective and breaks the system, and also shows you the fluidity of belief structure.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
the life will follow your belief. But anyways,
Well,
we're at
thank
that
you
time.
for your life vision here, the astrology, the 18,000 videos that you put out there.
My
That are
pleasure.
somebody was saying
18,001
earlier
this week. No, I'm kidding.
there's someone saying there. I went back and looking at all your old stuff, and yeah, I encourage people to do it because they'll see how right you really were and are.
Thank you, sir. You'll find they've been saying the same thing, but you'll also find that my hair changes at least once a year. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a
Appreciate you,
pleasure.
Chris.
See you next week. Appreciate you, brother.
See you
Love to
next week.
everyone watching. See you
Bye-bye.
next week.
If you haven't done it yet, go to our website immediately. Check out our whole new website. Check out the new resets in there. Check out our new products. We've also got If you need information on any disease or any pathology or anything you're dealing with, you can ask us on Instagram or ask us on our email. We have team people ready that have been taking my comments and my feedback for years and then feeding them back to you with written statements about how we see things, because we see them differently. You can also go and get Serious Joy. Chris's app is what we talked about 12 years ago today. It has changed my life fundamentally. I've been using it for 7 years. And fundamentally, I'm a different person because of that app, because I couldn't always have Chris there. And, you know, I did. For a lot of my time, I had Chris there to talk to me through rough times. But there was a period of time where Chris needed his own app, and he did. And he was gone for about 9 months. And that's where the power of Serious Joy really came in, because I had to do it by myself then. So go try it out. It's $3.99 for the first month. Support Chris, support his mission, support what he's doing, support that 18,000 hours worth of, or 18,000 videos and tens of thousands of hours that he's put out there. This app will give you a forecast every day, every week, every month, every year. It'll also explain to you, you can learn and become a full-fledged astrologer going through it. And it gives you 7 messages a day come in real time. Like you have a energy alert for the next 3 hours. You are going to be like this, or the world's going to be like this. Act differently. So you go and you get it through our website. You go in through our products and our partners and look for Serious Joy. Sign up. It's $3.99 for the first month. Highly encourage you guys do this. Thank you all for coming out today. Today was powerful talk. Looking forward to tomorrow.